Hi class. Our assignment for this week was to look into the Oxford academic website and see all the many sources that they have at their disposal, and also the Project Muse resource. For the Oxford academic website, I was able to find and focus in on Canada and their involvement in World War I. Oftentimes they are the forgotten nation that was a part of this conflict, but they gave many lives and much effort to contribute to the side of the Allies. And with Oxford being a British source, I figured that they would have more weight to Canada resources and their involvement in World War I, with Great Britain overseeing their aspect of it. And so this first source I found from Oxford was Canada and the British Empire, and the chapter title was Canada and the Third British Empire from 1901 to 1939. And this book was written by Philip Buckner in 2010. And this really was kind of all-encompassing of Canada's involvement during that time, but the specific World War I aspect was how Canada was very eager and excited to join the war on behalf of the Commonwealth of England, and they not only contributed men and soldiers, and that became very important later on in the war, but also when it came to resources like wheat and agricultural goods that they would send over across the Atlantic Ocean to mostly to Europe, like the United States did, except the United States remained neutral during most of the war, while Canada came in and sent those things overseas to help support the war effort in addition to manpower. On Project Muse website, I was able to find an article in the Canadian Historical Review, and this article was published in September of 2016 and had the approval of the University of Toronto Press as well. And this article was entitled Canada's Cultural Mobilization During the First World War and a Case for Canadian War Culture, and how Canada, it was able to choose how much it wanted to give to the war effort compared to some of the other Commonwealth states. And eventually at the end of the war, especially after the Battle of the Somme, where about 20,000 British soldiers died on the first day, really in 1917, 1918, Britain relied heavily on their Commonwealth states for men, for soldiers, for supplies, such as India, having Indian soldiers even in the Western Front, Australia having their soldiers in the Middle East, and then eventually on the Western Front, and Canada, how they also had soldiers, especially at the end of the war, contributing to the war effort. And that article was written by Jeff Keelan. And so I wanted to end off with one more additional source on the Canadian war effort during the time of World War I, and this is a primary source, The Great War as I Saw It by Canon Scott. He was a Canadian chaplain with the 1st Canadian Division, and this is his photograph in the front, and one excerpt that I found, and this was at the very end of the Battle of Passchendaele. At the front that day, a runner and I had joined in a brief burial service over the body of a gallant young officer lying where he fell on the side of a large shell hole. As I uttered the words, "I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord," it seemed to me that the lonely wind bore them over that region of gloom and death, as if it longed to carry the message of hope far away to the many sad hearts in Canada whose loved ones will lie until the end in unknown graves at Passchendaele. Thank you very much.